Okay, this is going to be part 1 in a series, hopefully, Yah willing. Overcoming common objections to a past millennial reign. I want to look at Zephaniah 3:9. For then will I turn to the people a pure language, that they may all call upon the name of the Lord to serve him with one consent. So let's just zoom back a little bit and look at the passage that's part of. Zephaniah 3, we're going to read 8 to 11. Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. For then will I turn to the people a pure language, that they may all call upon the name of the Lord to serve him with one consent. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even to the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring mine offering. In that day shalt thou not be ashamed for all thy doings, wherein thou hast transgressed against me. For then I will take out of the midst of thee them that rejoice in thy pride, and thou shalt be no more haughty because of my holy mountain. So this certainly seems like a millennial prophecy, and I'm not going to quibble with that. Holy mountain is there, fierce anger of the Lord, all of that stuff. This looks like a millennium prophecy. Absolutely, I agree with that. And I just put in the Strong's word for language there. It's H8193, sapa. That's not the common word for language, which we'll see later on. That is more lip, like literally lip is the most it's used for. But it also means language when he came down, or when they came down in ancient Babylon and scattered, or the first time confused the languages, that was the word that's used. So it was the first word for language used, but it's not the common word. Again, we'll see that in a couple more slides. So here, see it again. For then I will turn to the people a pure language. So the first objection is, there's a lot of languages. So the millennium could not have occurred because we all do not speak a pure language. And a lot of people say that's Hebrew, but again, what the verse actually says and what people say it says are two completely different things. So it says he will turn to the people a pure language. It doesn't say return. So if it were Hebrew and that were lost and then that were given again, it would say return. That's a completely different word in Hebrew. So it's I will turn to the people, I will turn over. Essentially, I will give to them, but not really give in that sense either. It's like turn. It's what it says. It's turning. And we don't really use that in common English today. We say return, but to turn the first time, to return the second time. So he's turning us the pure language. So it would not likely be Hebrew, because then it would be returning, if that makes sense. What it also does not say is that the existing languages will be removed. It just doesn't say that. People are reading that into the text to make their objection, like, oh, look, Spanish and Mandarin and French, and look, there's all these languages, so the millennium could not have occurred. And yeah, that's not what the verse says. It says he will turn a language. It doesn't say anything about removing the old languages. So let's read Isaiah 19:18. In that day, and again, I didn't want to put all of Isaiah 19 there, but the chapter, that prophecy is referring to that day, the day of the Lord, and the millennium after that. So in that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language, Sapa, same word, of Canaan, and swear to the Lord of hosts, one city shall be called the city of destruction. So that is a future prophecy for the land of Egypt, that they will speak the language of Canaan during the millennium. Daniel 7:13 and 14, I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given unto him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. So that's the common word for languages there, lisan. Well, the Aramaic version, the Syriac version, pardon me. Daniel's written in a slightly different language, but that we'll see that in the next slide. That is the common word. So that all peoples, all nations, and all languages will serve him. He's not taking away their languages. All languages will serve him. And his dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom which shall not be destroyed. Hallelujah. Zechariah 8:20-23. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, it shall yet come to pass that there shall come people and the inhabitants of many cities, And the inhabitant of one city shall go to another, saying, Let us go speedily and pray before the Lord, and to seek the Lord of hosts. I will go also. Yea, many people and strong nations shall come to seek the Lord of hosts in Jerusalem, and to pray before the Lord. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, In those days it shall come to pass, that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages, lasan, of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, We will go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. That is a millennium prophecy. Read Zechariah 8. That is millennium. There are different languages. Isaiah 66, 18 to 22. For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, languages, lasan, and they shall come and see my glory. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them. So those that escape of all the nations and all the languages, I will send them unto the nations of Tarshish, Put, and Lud, that draw the bow, to Topal, to Javan, to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory. And they that have escaped of nations and tongues shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, saith the Lord, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of the Lord. I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, saith the Lord. For as the new heaven and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain. Isaiah 66. It's hard to argue that's a millennial prophecy, and there are nations and there are tongues. He does not remove the languages. He simply gives us, turns over to us a pure language. So the objection that because there are different languages in the world right now, the millennium couldn't have happened, not supported by the text whatsoever. So then, in my experience, presenting that to someone, they immediately pivot, right? People don't want to actually address the point that you give them, so they just pivot to something else. So, okay, sure. If the language was turned over to us, where is it now? Right? They won't address the points that you just made. They'll just pivot to something else. So my best guess, just a guess, and I don't have to be right on this for it to be true, but my best guess is Old English. Not modern English, not Middle English, Old English, which we'll see on the next slide. So in the Old English literature box there, it says it arose, again, if we're going to believe the history, it arose about the 7th century, which on the timeline I'm going off of would have been about 100 to 200 years after the judgment of the Gentiles, Day of the Lord. Whether that's an accurate date or not, again, not really all that important, but it just gives you an idea about when we're talking about historically along the timeline. So it arose about the 7th century, and about 1066 or so, they say. That's about roughly where it started to turn into Middle English. And then, again, it's now been corrupted to a point where it doesn't even remotely resemble what it once was. And now we speak, yo, sup. But just, does English mean angelish? Does England mean angel land? Are Anglos angels? British, the word Brit means covenant. So the covenant land. And are Saxons Isaac's sons? Could be a coincidence. Again, doesn't have to be true. English may not be the pure language. That's really irrelevant. I'm just trying to provide an answer with my best guess for this objection. So again, if we look at, here's modern English side by side with Old English. Yeah, those are not really the same language. I mean, not really at all. So I'm just going to read the top left because it's a praise to our Lord, so I'll always read that. Now we must praise the guardian of heaven, the power and conception of the Lord, and all his works, as he, eternal Lord, Father of glory, started every wonder. First, he created heaven as a roof, the holy maker, for the sons of men, then the eternal keeper of mankind, furnished the earth below, the land for men, Almighty God and everlasting Lord. I couldn't even read that on the right if I wanted to. So that's it. That's my guess. Not the corrupted version we have today with spelling, casting spells, speaking in the maritime language and all that kind of stuff and getting people to understand and stand under authority. None of that stuff. The Old English, which does not reflect modern English, but it is a corruption that can be traced back. So it would make sense that when, the bad guy popped out of the pit with all his little minions, that they just, okay, we got to corrupt this. We got to get rid of that. We can't have that language being spoken on Earth. So let's corrupt it. And here we are. Well, thanks for watching. Again, this was part 1 of overcoming common objections to a past millennial reign. Rolls right off the tongue. Yah willing, we'll make more of these. And if you have any objections that you hear often that you'd like to see a video on, put them in the comments, and I'll see what I can do.